Alright, quick history video too. On top of all the drama in the manosphere. It's gonna quick kick some knowledge. Just off the dome, really not plotted, not scripted or anything. But just walking home, night out at the Fun Julio, and thought I'd drop some knowledge. I'm really psyched that a very big heavy hitter in the manosphere just opened a studio, and he's about to get in some new type shit. You know, start talking, taking it to the next level, talking about the Illuminati shit, talking about that occult shit, talking about that fucking government voodoo type shit they're rolling on us. I'm with it 1000%. I can't wait for this brother to do his thing and drop it. So, maybe a little boost on the way. Probably something he already knows, but just in case he doesn't, just want to put it out there. Now, we were talking about the Templars today. The Knights Templar. Now, what is the Knights Templar? During the Age of Chivalry, which basically lasted, I mean, the Age of Chivalry is a fucking funky word too, because really, technically, the Age of Chivalry didn't really start until it ended, and the real high age of chivalry was in the 1400s, right before gunpowder came out. And by the time those knights came around, they were kind of like fluffy pussies, like all high and mighty, like they weren't the old school knights or whatever, man. But there used to be groups of knights, right? There's one called the Hospitallers. That's where the word hospital comes from. And I forget, there was a couple other ones. Can't think of right now, but then you had the Templars. Yeah, I think the whole mission of like the Knights Hospitallers was to like help the wounded. The whole mission of the Templars, I think, was to retake the Solomon, like the Jewish temple in Israel, in Jerusalem. I mean, that was the whole deal with the Crusades. Now, the first Crusade got botched, and again, Knights were kind of like, I don't know, they were kind of like the way we have gang, like the Hells Angels now and shit, like bike gangs now. That's kind of how Knights were back in the day. You know, they rolled in, it was kind of like a brotherhood type thing, a fraternity. Everything was gilded, it was in guilds back in the Middle Ages, every profession. But, like I said, the Templars are the ones you're going to hear the most about, because they did the most damage, they did the most destruction, and they did some amazing fucking shit. Okay? They had the first ATM machines. Like, they had banks all throughout. There were Templar banks all throughout Europe, all the way to the Middle East. So you could just drop your money in a bank, they'll give you a note that you have this much credit, and then when you get to the next Templar bank, you know, it's 100 miles away, you Gucci, you know what I mean? You don't got to carry that money with you, so even if you get robbed, bada boom. The Knights Templar are most now the first Crusade, like I said, it went that shit went haywire, dude. That turned into a fucking fiasco. It just turned into this big mob, this big angry mob of fucking knights and all. And a knight has a retinue, dude. It's not just one dude on a horse. There's a squire. The squire has kind of a squire. There's fucking 3 other guys who fucking help shit out and fucking pick up horse shit and, I don't know, carry weapons and shit. So, like, for one night, and then for one night, there's like 4 or 5 guys, and then you figure there's siege work, there's catapults, there's just this big band that's hoarded. And like, we don't know it now, we don't talk about it now, but every army that marched, pretty much all the way up to the modern era, and even I think in the modern era, but it's not as flagrant as it used to be, like women, prostitutes, always follow armies around, because it's like they make buku bucks. So, you know, we're walking with basically like a city of like 120 to 200,000 people all across Europe over to the Middle East. So the first Crusade got botched in Constantinople. They got to Constantinople thinking they were going to be welcome. The king Constantinople was like, why the fuck are there 8 million bazillion fucking raggedy ass niggas out here starving, thirsty, and talking about we better open our gates, they're going to kick our ass. So I'm not opening my gates for these people. So we didn't. And rather than just fucking attack the Middle East, they're like, you know what, we walked far enough. Even though Constantinople's are Christians and we're here to fucking fight Muslims, fuck it, we're here, dude. I'm starving, bro. That was like attacking New York. And they did. And they sacked it, I think. They fucked the city up for a while. That was Crusade 1. Crusade 2 was the closest thing there was to a Christian like for a crusade that went the Europe's way and the Christian side won. That was the most famous one. You had King Richard II was in, or the Lionheart, or King Richard I, the Lionheart, in that war. You had Philip Augustus, who was the king of France, or the like head bad boy of France at the time, which back sounds like a faggot shit today, but back then France was pretty dope. And then you had their enemy was the infamous Saladin on the Muslim side, and it was just that was the best story out of the crusade. And the rest of the crusades, the third and the fourth crusade, were fucking both flops, and we lost. The Christians lost. And then the fifth crusade, I don't know what the fucking Pope at the time was thinking. I guess he was getting off on getting, you know, he had a fucking harem of 8-year-old boys or some shit, and he thought, why don't we have a children's crusade? Yeah, why don't we instead of sending warriors, let's send a bunch of children to the Middle East and see if they'll win. I swear to God, no, dead ass, it happened. So, the second crusade was the big one. They took Acre. King Richard II took Acre. They took Joppa, and then I think they took fucking Jerusalem. And there was, I think, a 70-year period where Templars owned Jerusalem and maintained militarily, beat away the fucking Arabs that ran it, like, and owned it and stationed themselves there and occupied it. And then during those 70 years, they fucking were there. That Jewish temple, there was fucking all kinds of fucking wormholes, little fucking patches, little cubby holes, little shit underneath the temple, little hidden passageways, and they found something. That's the deal with the Templars. That's what the whole fucking not the Last Temptation of Christ. What's the Dan Brown story? Da Vinci Code. That could be what they found. It's either one of the two things. Either the Da Vinci Code is right, or somehow or another, they found some sort of, I think, they found like documentation that said, like, we are trying to rule the world. We are using our religion just as a ruse to, like, make everyone, like, be in our banks, and, like, the whole Jesus story, we're just using that to, you know, to enslave everybody. That's what I think. They found some evidence of that, like some sort of evidence of an agenda that, like, basically blew the cover of Christianity and Judaism. They found something that the churches, like, they had something that the churches didn't want to get out, and they pretty much, from then on in, the Templars almost became, like, they ruled Europe from then on in. You know, and it wasn't, even after they got kicked out of Jerusalem, 17, I think it was like, I'm thinking it's like 1120 AD, I could be wrong, I don't have the dates in front of me, but like sometime after the 70 years of occupation by the Templars in Jerusalem, they got booted out of there, but they still went back to Europe and still ran shit till like for like 200 more years, dude. And it wasn't until a French king, they were just wrapping their fucking claws around everything. And the king of France, right? Back then, France was the big cheese at the time. They were kind of the superpower. And France was broken up, too. It wasn't just France. There was Normandy, Burgundy, Aquitaine, France, and I think Belgium. Like, there was like 5 different parts of France that were all different kingdoms, but somehow they all answered to one king, etc. And this king rounded everybody up on like Friday the 13th of like 1340. I don't know the exact year. I think 1347 rings a bell. I'm probably wrong on that, but somewhere in there, in the 1300s, he rounded up all the leaders and said, look, we're gonna have a meeting. And then when they all came, they fucking locked all the doors and murdered everybody. And then it was fucking murder the Templars from then on in. They became outlawed. And then they pulled the plug on Templars. And it's thought that's, you know, they got to America before Columbus, and that's what the whole Oak Island thing is. That's the whole Rosicrucian thing in Scotland. You know, they ran to Scotland, they ran to Ireland, they ran to Iceland, all these places where they couldn't be reached, supposedly. History doesn't know. But the Templars were the baddest motherfucking Knights Order that ever existed. And they knew something that once we figure it out what it is, it's gonna fucking change the world again.